Hi, welcome to Spoiler Lab. A strange old woman was buried alive under a tree, but managed to remain alive for 15 years without food or water. Today we will recap the story of the 2018 movie Tumbad. Vinayak Rao tells his young son Pandurang an ancient legend about the goddess of prosperity, who was a symbol of inexhaustible wealth and food. According to the legend, Hastur, the firstborn son of the goddess, coveted all the gold and food in the world. The other gods rebelled against their brother, but his mother was able to protect her favorite from the wrath of the other children by hiding him in her womb and forbidding all to worship Hastur or to even utter the name of the rejected god. Since then, millennia have passed, but, contrary to the order of the goddess of prosperity, people have not forgotten about Hastur. According to one legend, the spirit of the rogue god and his riches are kept somewhere around the village of Tumbad, whose inhabitants once built a temple in his honor. This provoked the wrath of the gods, and they cursed the village with a continuous downpour. At the end of the story, Vinayak mysteriously hints to his son that they better not wake Hastur and he will understand everything when he himself is inside the womb of the goddess. 29 years earlier in Tumbad, Vinayak's mother had served the local old Baron Sarkar in his mansion. The woman performed intimate services for him in the hope of obtaining the only gold coin of the god Hastur stored in the mansion. Meanwhile, while at home, the Baron's illegitimate children, Vinayak and Sadashiv, worry about having to feed the monstrous old woman, Sarkar's ancestor, chained up in a separate room. If they don't, she will wake up and something terrible will happen. Their mother is delayed, so the brothers decide to feed the old woman themselves to keep her from waking up. Vinayak prepares food and encourages his younger brother to take it to the sleeping hag. All he has to do is put food in her open mouth and she will swallow it herself. Shaking with fear, Sadashiv slowly walks down the long corridor to the room where the woman's coarse breathing can be heard. He is stopped from going inside by his mother, who is enraged by the children's willfulness. She slaps Vinayak and takes the food to the old woman herself and trims her long claws. Vinayak is sure that the Baron will never give the gold coin to his mother and asks her to stop humiliating herself. But the woman is confident that she has not yet earned the award. Suddenly there is a cough and groans in the old woman's room. She piteously begs to be let go and offers treasure in return. Vinayak's mother utters a secret phrase and the hag immediately falls asleep. At night Sakar dies and is buried with all honors. Having failed to obtain the cherished coin, the Baron's concubine decides to leave Tumbad and head for the city of Pune. Vinayak disagrees with his mother's decision and wants to go on a hunt for the treasure, which is rumored to be hidden somewhere in the depths of the mansion. The boy's mother says that Sarkar spent his whole life and fortune searching for the treasure, but never found anything. Then the boy offers to wake up the old hag and ask her about the treasure, but his mother is adamantly against it. During the day, while walking, Sadashiv falls from a tree and badly knocks his head on a rock. Vinayak calls his mother for help and she tells him that he will have to feed the old woman that night. She also warns him that if the old woman wakes up, he must invoke the name Hastur to make her sleep. Meanwhile, Sadashiv dies on the way to the doctor. The mother directs the coachman to Sarkar's mansion, where she collects the gold coin. Meanwhile, Vinayak sprinkles himself with flour and walks into the room with the monstrous old woman. He points the flashlight at her and she cringes from the bright light. The boy notices that her skin is wrinkled and her jaw is stuffed with sharp nails. He tries to find out from the old woman where the treasure is hidden in exchange for food. But the hungry hag attacks and decides to eat him and the boy has to flee. He hastily tries to prepare the meal and cannot remember the name of the deity. Meanwhile, the old woman catches up with him and shackles him. The hag drags the boy to her lair, where she wedges his head between the wooden beams. She pulls a nail out of her jaw, preparing to hammer her victim. Vinayak struggles to remember Hastur's name and calls out to him, making her fall asleep. Vinayak's mother returns in tears to the house and treats her son's wounds with an ointment. The next day he and Vinayak leave Tumbad for Pune, watching Sadashiv's body burn on a raft in the water. The boy can't forget what happened the day before and asks his mother to go back. He offers to tie her up and torture the old woman until she tells them more about the treasure. The mother becomes furious and calls her son a greedy bastard like his father. In the end, she makes him swear that he will never return to Tumbad again. 15 years pass and Vinayak grows up and becomes a man. Desperate to escape poverty after his mother's death, he returns to Tumbad in search of the treasure. During this time his old house is overgrown, so he has to wade through roots and cobwebs. Among the branches he finds the old woman's shackles and pulls on them. So he realizes that a tree is now growing out of her body. The man pulls the nails out of her jaws and the old woman awakens from her sleep. In gratitude, the hag tells him her story. After her husband died, the Lord's family decided to keep her at the mansion, since she could go down the well faster than anyone else. She explains that the well in the temple leads to the womb of the goddess, where the deity resides. Although Haystar stole the goddess's gold, he could not get her grain. Therefore, having been hungry for years, he desires flour. She warns him that he will be cursed, become immortal and turn into a monster like her if he touches the treasure of Haystar. In exchange for the information, the old woman asks that her body be set on fire to relieve her of her endless suffering and sense of hunger. Vinayak keeps his promise and gets rid of the old woman. For months he makes his way to the well and physically trains himself to climb up and down the long rope. After a while, all overgrown and dirty, he returns to Pune to see his wife. While entering his house, he realizes that in his absence, his beloved has opened a business selling wheat. He bursts in furiously, scaring away all the visitors. Vinayak pushes his wife to the floor, covering her with kisses. He promises to make her a queen, but in return she must grind flour for him and never ask what it is for. Having cleaned himself up, Vinayak visits his friend and opium dealer Raghav. He offers him his first gold coin in honor of the repayment of his debt. The trader values the coin at 100 rupees and then the man offers him some more coins. From that moment on, Vinayak's life began to flourish. His wife diligently grinds flour, which he brings to Tumbad and brings down the well, receiving gold coins in return. He gives the loot to Raghav in exchange for rupees, getting richer and richer. The merchant openly asks about the treasure rumored to exist in the Tumbad mansion, and also wonders why Vinayak can only mine a few coins at a time. In response, the man jokes it off and offers his friend to search for the mythical treasure himself. One day Vinayak brings the merchant as much as 16 coins, and now he no longer has enough money to pay him back. Local Sergeant Cooper warns Raghav that he is leaving town and will no longer be able to supply him with opium for trade. He has 1 month left before he loses his earnings completely. Vinayak returns home from another trip to Tumbad with an injured leg, where he meets a worried Raghav. The peddler brings him a gramophone from overseas and tries to find out where he hurt his leg, but Vinayak says he just fell. Before he leaves, Raghav offers to become business partners in mining the gold coins and to split the risks in half. But Vinayak has no intention of sharing the secret of his wealth, so he refuses his friend. In return, he offers to lend him money if he needs it. Vinayak and his wife have a son, Pandurang. By this time they have become one of the richest families in Pune. Rayo's house is adorned with expensive decorations, he throws lavish feasts and drinks expensive alcohol. At the same time, Raghav's business is in quite a bad shape and Sergeant Cooper gives him 2 days to get the money. Knowing that the peddler has no money to pay him back, Vinayak takes his motorcycle. Raghav owes his friend 800 rupees and decides to sell him his widowed sister-in-law as a mistress in payment of his debt. Vinayak tells his wife that he bought a housekeeper to help her around the house and live in their attic. At night the young concubine lures Vinayak to her place, offering to tell him secret information for money. She tells him that Raghav paid her to spend 2 nights with him to keep him from going to Tumbad. The enraged Vinayak follows his friend to the temple of the deity. Raghav wanders around the mansion looking for the entrance to the treasury, but never finds it. Then he notices Vinayak climbing down the rope into the well. By evening, he returns and demonstratively shows off the gold coins he has mined, knowing that the merchant is watching him. Waiting for his friend to leave, the greedy Raghav climbs down the rope to the bottom of the well, unaware of the danger that awaits him there. Eventually he gets inside the womb of the goddess of prosperity, where everything around him breathes as a single organism. Anticipating untold riches, the merchant tries to find a way to get the treasure. In the middle of the womb he notices a pot in which he finds a doll made of dough. As soon as he picks it up, Haystar viciously attacks him and turns him into a monster, connecting him to the walls of the womb. Vinayak comes down inside. With a sad look at Raghav, he forces him to sleep. Then he scatters a circle of flour around him and begins to invoke the deity using the doll. The hungry Haystar runs to the call, but cannot overcome the barrier to take away the treat. In a fit of rage, he rips Raghav's arm off and he wakes up screaming in unbearable pain. To distract the deity, Vinayak throws the flour doll in the corner. While Haystar is distracted by the food, the man runs his finger over the deity's waistband, which is filled with gold. He hurriedly picks up the fallen coins and prepares to flee, but he hears Raghav's desperate cries. Taking pity on his friend, he burns his body alive to spare him further suffering. Upon returning home, Vinayak witnesses a spat between his wife and his young mistress. The woman accuses her rival of stealing a brooch and chases her out of the house. The man only chuckles at his wife's jealousy. 14 years have passed and India has become independent. All this time Vinayak regularly repeats the procedure of stealing coins, but as the years go by he realizes that he no longer has the strength and health to do so. He prepares his eldest son Pandurang as his successor and makes him train hard. Even with a broken foot, the boy continues to climb the rope and collect gold coins from the floor. He is tabulating the results every day, but he is still spending too much time on the procedure. Vinayak continues to openly visit his mistress, and she is not happy that he has stopped bringing her gold coins. She advises her lover to turn things over to her son as soon as possible, but he still finds him useless. At dinner, Pandurang brags about his success in training and says he collected 8 coins in 19 attempts. Vinayak remains indifferent and says nothing to his son. Later, he decides to take Pandurang with him to Tumbad to show him how actually to extract the treasure. The mother hands the boy a pot of flour and asks him to tell her on his return how his father is mining for gold. On the way to the mansion, Vinayak asks his son if he would like to possess immortality and treasure, living eternal life by only eating and sleeping. The boy answers excitedly that everyone would dream of such a fate. Vinayak says with a chuckle that such a life is not really a blessing, but a curse, which is worse than death. Upon reaching the place, father and son mold a doll of flour before going down inside. As soon as Pandurang finishes sculpting, Vinayak throws the doll away and tells him not to take it with them, for it is only a training exercise. Once inside the womb of the goddess, the man teaches his son what to do when Haystar arrives. He explains that the deity is afraid of the circle of flour, because contact with it is fatal to him. The boy is horrified to notice Raghav's body in the wall and learns his story. Despite his father's orders, Pandurang secretly brings a puppet with him, which immediately attracts Haystar's attention and he unexpectedly attacks them. They hardly escape with their lives and return to safety. The boy happily shows his father some gold coins that he managed to steal from the deity. However, the father is not happy about his son's recklessness and scorns him for Haystar almost touching them. Later his anger turns to mercy and tells Pandurang to keep his first gold coin. The boy's mother tries to find out what he was doing in Tumbad. But Pandurang continues to keep his father's secret, much to the dismay of his worried mother. In the evening, Vinayak meets with local officials to give them donations for the development of the town. He learns from them that the mansion in Tumbad was bought by the Indian government. Despite the fact that his ancestors had served the Baron's family for years, Vinayak has no rights to the estate. At night, Pandurang goes to his father's mistress and shows her the gold coin with a smile. He tells her that he has become Vinayak's partner, and soon he will be the sole treasure hunter. In the future, Rao Jr. plans to marry the girl and knows that her love has a price. Vinayak's well-being worsens after news of the mansion. He reveals his secret to Pandurang and shows him the chest of gold and money he has amassed over the years. The astonished boy says that these supplies will last them a lifetime. Vinayak painfully remembers his mother, who believed that 1 gold coin was all she needs, but she died in poverty. In the morning, Vinayak wakes up in his mistress' bed and sees her holding a gold coin. He becomes furious and beats his son for taking advantage of someone else's money. During the fight, Pandurang tells his father that he has been doing everything all wrong and offers to steal Hastar's waistband. The father stops and listens to the boy. To carry out the plan, he suggests preparing many flower dolls and, as soon as the deity is finished with one, immediately throw him another. Vinayak realizes that there is logic in his son's idea and decides to listen to him. While the workers are preparing the flour, Vinayak throws his son a party where he dances, has fun, and spends rupees left and right. Finally, they go together to Tumbad, where they sculpt dozens of dough dolls to distract Haystar. They go down inside the womb and invoke the deity, but immediately get trapped. Seeing the many dolls, the deity turns into many clones of itself that surround father and son on all sides. The frightened Pandurang throws a few dolls around and the Haystars rush at them greedily, while fighting and killing each other. Despite this, the number of clones continues to increase, and if Vinayak and his son leave the safe circle, they will inevitably become the next victim. The trapped Rao family spend long hours waiting until the lights in their lamps go out completely. The noise around fades out and Vinayak lights a match, hoping that the clones of the deity have disappeared, but they continue to guard their prey. Then the man decides to make desperate sacrifice and ties the remaining dolls to his body to act as bait for the Haystars. It is the only way his son could get back safely. Pandurang throws himself at his father's feet and begs him not to sacrifice himself and find another way out. But the man is adamant. He pushes his son away from him and crawls up the rope toward the hungry deities. When Pandurang lights a match, he sees dozens of clones rush at his father and fall down, killed by a collision with a magical barrier. Seizing the moment, the boy quickly climbs up the rope and returns to the ground, sobbing over his nightmare and loss. Suddenly he hears a muffled call and notices his father, or rather what he has become. Near the well, his skin became wrinkled and charred, and his eyes turned pale. Moving like a zombie toward his son, he stretches his arm outward, holding Haystar's waistband. Vinayak tells Pandurang to take the gold, for that is what he so desired. The boy breaks down in his tears and refuses the gift, realizing that his own greed has turned his father into a monster. In desperation, he throws a lamp at Vinayak and the fire slowly consumes the man's body. By saying Haystar's name, Pandurang makes his father fall asleep forever. Afterwards, the boy walks away, leaving the cursed mansion forever. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.